just wanted to I just wanted to start off this video a little bit slowly because whenever we end up talking about stuff like this, or I end up talking about stuff like this, I always find myself getting too fast, too aggressive with it sometimes, and kind of like forcing vague stuff instead of and also when I'm going fast, there's more tension, and it's more like up, like intensity. So it makes the discussion about incredibly controversial or deep things or challenging stuff that much more less focused, because there's all this other tension and stuff. It's like you're trying to study or answer a question and someone's yelling in the background. So, but the main idea that I had is based on this talking about how what words are, and how they are really one of the biggest blocks we have in the whole system that we've set up, in the whole problem that the human beings have. Like it's completely that words are like in the way. So first, what are words? When we're talking about words, what do we mean by words? You know, what is language? And generally words are what Joe Rogan might call mouth noises. They are, we have air in our lungs, and because we have that, we can make sounds with our vocal box in our throat, and when the air, and we control it with our mouth and lips and tongue and everything, and the rest of our body as well, it makes a certain sound, like, right? This is the sound I'm making. And if you speak English in 2020 or whatever English works for you, that can understand the word like, then we can kind of together see that it's what it means. You know, like if I say rocks or water or sky, because you speak the same language, you understand, or you have some kind of translation or way of understanding the sound I'm making. But if you are a little kid who doesn't know these words yet, or if you're from a different place, or if you're living 500 years ago and maybe the words are a little bit different, I don't know what Old English is necessarily like. It's probably a little bit close, but you know, it's only a matter of time. 500 years, 5,000 years. So you wouldn't understand. And so what's happening is we're making sounds or writing them, but writing is like secondary almost, pretty much, because most people started speaking, and then reading and writing is like a secondary skill that we're getting into more and more now with technology and schools and everything in the last couple 100 years probably, or even 100 years more, and probably the last 30 years more than any. But so why are words such a huge problem? So words first evolved to communicate specific things. Like people lived in lives where they needed to say things like I said, like water, or rocks, or food, or love, or attraction, whatever different things people experience. And the whole thing behind it was to communicate with people, to let them know like what you're thinking about on the outside without having to point your finger at the rock, like go bring the rock right there, which is like you could do that. And people who cannot speak use sign language, but what's really we want is being able to communicate about things that aren't necessarily there. Like you meet someone and you're like, hey, do you have children? Or where are the children? Or where's my son? Like, is he here in the cave? And you say in the cave, and it's like, okay, all right, my son is in the cave. Now that is very important information that you sometimes need to know. Or where's the water? It's up north. It's like how do you like go north for like and then turn and then go like this? It's like hard to kind of do that with signs and stuff. So language evolved to serve the purpose of communicating about things, especially things that aren't necessarily there, but they're very specific. It started with things like this, like make a fire, where's my son, where's the food, where do I go? But then as we became more sophisticated and we got better at using words, we started making words and using this technology of making mouth noises to try to communicate about things that aren't necessarily out here, like where is my son in the cave, but more abstract, like patterns of things, like freedom or time, maybe. Time maybe is not the best one, but like freedom or leadership, or maybe leadership isn't even the best one too, but like the once it gets really complicated, like things like a democracy, like when we say democracy, or so many of the words we use: racism, equality, drugs. What do we like? These concepts that aren't necessarily something you can touch. Like, hey, show me drugs. Like, there's no something out here. But just you call it drugs. Like it's a something specific that we think about, but isn't necessarily that easy to communicate. Or freedom, or equality. You can't grab equality. You can't say, here, this is equality right here. Where? Show me. Or freedom, or democracy, or you kind of, in some way you can, if you know what you're talking about. But here's the thing, right? Like, so part of the problem is in the time we have now, we're trying to communicate about these things, racism, equality. Let's take the example that is very popular now, which is make America great again. Just take a moment to think about these words and what they communicate. Like, what is it specifically that we're saying exactly? Like bring me my water bottle, or bring me this water bottle that has this in it, or whatever. It's very specific, right? Get the person with this fingerprint. Like thoughts like that are very clear. When we say make America great again, okay? First of all, start with the word make. Okay, you're gonna make. So what does make mean? Make means like making something. Like you create it or you do it. somehow, but usually it's more like creating. So what are you gonna, you're gonna make America. So all right. So the word make is kind of interesting, like just apply to this context, because how do you make a so here then it comes here, because the word America, what are we talking about? Do we mean the physical landmass, which on the map geographically we currently call America? Are we talking about make the continent, like America great again, the land, like replant the trees and the animals and eagles and everything is great, like it kind of used to be, you know, it like it used to be great, buffalo and water and amazing forests and all kinds of life. So is that what we're saying when we say make America great again? This America, like the physical landmass, or do we mean the conceptual, the government which is currently running, like the current system, which calls itself America, you know, the United States of America? Do we mean we make the current system great again, like we boost the world standing economically and in terms of production and science and maybe like a military or like a control of some kind, something like this? Do we mean the current government, like the current system as it is becomes better? Or is that the America we're describing, the current one? Or do we mean the America that is the conceptual America, the one that the founding fathers wrote and visioned? Do we mean America, the like the essence idea, that is the original essence idea? We're talking about make America, the original America, great again. And so first, and then we come to the word great, that America. So what does great mean? Great means it's like great. Okay, that's not a word like great, like rocks, you know, rocks, you can wear rocks. Great, you cannot like point, this is great right here, this is great, like, you see what I mean? Like it's kind of so vague what great means, because to someone maybe vague means there is very little violence and crime and problems and depression and suicide, and it's a peaceful, happy, well-nourished, like well-off people living the American dream, right? Like this kind of concept that people have, where they get to pursue happiness, or actually be happy, not just pursue it. So is that what we mean by great? Or do we mean by great this kind of like a dominance kind of great, like a chimpanzee, like a monkey, like a you know, like a standing on the other one and like beating his chest, I'm the best monkey, or the strongest, or you know, the silverback, like this kind of like very animalistic sense of greatness? Or do we mean by great, we mean like advancement, like progress, like kind of like being at the front of the curve in terms of a policy and openness and laws and science and discoveries and exploration and sport and all these things, like innovation, right? Which America loves in general. And is that what we mean by great? Or do we mean a combination of all these things? Or what exactly? Like it matters so much, because those are so different. And if you come in with the mindset that making America great again, to me, means this. Like, let's say when Trump says it, he means all these things. Let's just imagine that. But maybe someone else doesn't think that. Maybe someone living inside America thinks that making America great again is about focusing on the science and progress, or about focusing on the power dominance, or about focusing on like this peaceful, happy, like well-off society, American dream. And so which one is it? And how do we figure out what exactly we're saying? And then a word again. Again, like what? Like again means like over again. So like what era do you mean? Like again, does that mean it's not great anymore? Does it mean it used to be great, but like we said, like which great is it? Was it the greatness of the essence when America was like the most incredible economic powerhouse in the world, you know, and then around the World War when innovation and progress and people were like in a different phase? Are we talking about the 50s? Are we talking about the greatness of early America when the founding fathers were there and they had like this very small government which was very efficient and very simple but very ingenious kind of system? Not ingenuine, ingenious kind of system that they had at the time, which we think is pretty good in some way, but it also, there was like a slavery and there was like a real deep issues, you know. It's not like people back then, it's not like they were just living in heaven. They were pretty far from it. And so, and why do we want to make it great again? Why is it that we want to go, like saying again means again, like again, that means like you want to go back to something, you want to go backwards to a past state instead of going forward, instead of setting a vision, saying we this is what we want to make. We want liberty and freedom of speech and ability for people to be happy and all these things, and then let's just make that or help that direction come on. But we're like saying again as if that was already there at some point, like we have it saved in some like file, like, you know, and you just go back to the last checkpoint, like okay, we'll just go back to that checkpoint and we'll be fine. And it's like, but the last checkpoints were pretty fucked up, like in a lot of ways. So much war, discrimination, weird stuff with laws around alcohol and stuff. Okay, so this is just the idea of make America great again. But just don't get caught up in the idea of America and all this stuff. I'm just using it as an example because I don't know what, like, you know, I have to say some example. But just take the idea of what we've been doing for the last 50 years. One of the biggest things that the world has been engaged in since the 60s even, which is more than 40 years, 50 years. But it's called the war on drugs, the drug war. So one of the biggest things that has happening in the world is the drug war. But on every corner I walk on of a major block, there is a drug store. So what's happening here? Is it that we don't want drugs, or we want drugs? And what does drugs even mean? And which kind of drugs are we talking about? And what does waging war on a drug mean? Like, you when you go to war with somebody, you're usually trying to crush them or control them or do something violent in order to profit somehow, to further your standing or your ideology, or economically you want to take something, land, or maybe it's very rare, but it has happened that people wage war because people are really doing some fucked up shit and they just want to really help out, you know. It's like there's like a bad government, let's say like Pol Pot or Nazis or something, late stage Nazis. Like when it's really getting fucked up, like okay, it's time for someone to come in. But usually that's not what's happening, you know. That's like less than 1% of wars, if not, or 5%. It's a very tiny percentage of war. War is mostly fought for profit or for some kind of gain or for revenge. and ideology spreading, and this kind of furthering your position in the world. So what do we mean by war on drugs? Like we're gonna go and destroy all the coke trees and all the tobacco trees and all the drugs, but then we want them, like we use them. Medicine uses alcohol, it uses cocaine for sedation, it uses opiates for painkillers, the poppy, like people take oxycodone and morphine and all these things. Do we just kill all the poppy flowers and all the marijuanas and all the mushrooms and all kinds of things, even caffeine, coffee, because coffee is a drug. Do we not want tea? What about tea? Tea, it's the same thing, as we make it kind of mild, but it's not like the tea leaf with the caffeine in it. That's a drug, and if you take enough of it, you can overdose. Your heart can stop, and it can beat too fast, and it's hitting directly in the nervous system. And so when we say a drug, when we say war, what do we mean? We mean like we're gonna kill all these things, and then the war on drugs, or what do we mean? We mean we're gonna go to war with them, like the Romans go to war with the small tribes, and then enslave them, and then bring them back and use them however they want. Because that's a kind of war as well, you kill the men and you bring back the women, or you kill you bring back the children, or you do whatever you want, take the gold and peace out. Viking Style War. Is that what we mean by war on drugs? Like we're gonna take all the poppy, the government is gonna come take all the the ones waging the war, the government, the system, we're gonna bring it, and we're gonna take control of all the marijuana and hash and the coke and everything, and then we're gonna benefit from it, but we're not gonna allow it to just be like a free whatever. So this is a kind of war as well. But or do we mean and then drugs? What do we mean by drugs? Do we mean drugs like I said, is TV a drug? If you analyze drugs from symptoms, it makes you sit down for, makes some people sit down for 6, 12, 16 hours a day, completely hooked on it, living these low energy, sedentary lives. And some people even get health problems from sitting so much. And it stimulates so much when you watch modern TV, like you watch action movies, or you watch sexual stuff, or you watch war, news, politics. It's like you're basically getting a drug, you're getting a caffeine, or you're getting a hit of something. And so is that, we analyzing by symptom, or are we analyzing by crossing the blood-brain barrier, which is another definition? So then that would include alcohol and caffeine, and it would include so many other foods that we have that are very common, that people have been living with forever. Even sugar does that. I'm not sure the brain takes in sugar directly, but sugar does something to the nervous system. It turns on insulin like that, and there's a spike in everything. So do we mean but like a chemically, like a clinically a drug? Because then that would skew the definition so much. Are we gonna go to war with tea and coffee and alcohol and cigarettes and TV? Or not TV, I guess, in the clinical sense. I'm sorry, I'm mixing it up. So do you see where I'm going with this? These are just two examples, but what I'm trying to say is that one of the biggest things that we have, these words are not as real as we want them to be. They're not real. They're not as real as, someone picks something up and throws it in your face and it hits you. That's real, in an experiential sense. You can experience it directly, specifically. But America or the idea of democracy or drugs or war is not something like that specific, or racism or white people. Like let's, what do we mean by white people? Do we mean people who look like white, like albinos? Do we mean people who come from Europe, that just stay there? Do we mean people who live in America who like traded slaves? But is it a cultural thing? Is it a physical thing? Is it a genetic thing? And they're like mixed, and like it's like so complicated. It's so like vague, and like you have to go into all this stuff, and it's like it doesn't have any where to grab it. It doesn't feel like there's anywhere you can grab it. And when there's no grabbing it, and we keep trying to deal with it, using these words, how are we supposed to like how are we supposed to communicate with each other? Because the people come together, they want to establish equality, or they want to establish Christianity, or they want to make America great again. And what ensues is havoc, chaos. Because this guy thinks the war on drugs means something else, and this guy thinks make America great means something else, and this guy thinks equality means something else. This guy thinks equality means we're gonna turn it on you. Some people were oppressing us, and now we're gonna equalize it by oppressing them. Like extreme feminists want to rebel against all male people, and extreme people of any type, Muslims or Christians or Zionists or Maoists or even like capitalists. They want to they want to convert, want everybody to be like them. Like this is equality means like to someone like that, it means something very different. To an extremist, what I'm trying to say is, to an extremist, equality means something very different than to someone who's like more in the middle in terms of their emotional experience. They're not very like intensely radical, and they're not like they don't even care. They're not engaged in it at all. They just sit on the beach. The whole thing is about what I'm trying to say is that the part of the problem we have, that is the chaos and the fighting and the confusion and this inability to have the world we want, is because we try to do it with words. We try to say, okay, let's make democracy, let's make America great again, let's establish the government of this, let's do this system. And it's all words. We don't have something specific. We don't say we're gonna put every person is gonna get this much money, and then this is gonna be the policy, and this is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna all have water bottles that are refilled by a system every day. It's not something very specific. It's something up in the air. It's a concept. It's something that is cool and dramatic to talk about, which is very easy to sell in speeches, so people can get votes. Whenever people want to get votes or rally populations and like politicians or people, officials, they use these big words because people, first of all, it's kind of confusing enough that enough people kind of like start to think, yeah, make America great sounds pretty nice. The war on the drug war sounds like a good idea. It's like, yeah. But then, because it's so vague, and then when you start to go deeper into it, you start to realize, like, wait a second. What's happening is madness. This isn't what I mean by equality, or this isn't what I mean by make America great again, or this isn't what I mean by freedom. freedom, like what kind of freedom is police in the streets shooting people with live rounds, or with even gas tears, just like fucking them up and shooting like rubber bullets into them because they want to like do some kind of protest. That's a kind of freedom. But you know, so it's so it can be really vague is my point. And so when we communicate about this stuff, what has to happen instead of us using all these words is just stop for 2 moments and like think about the thing, what we want it to actually look like. Like if we drew it in 3D, if you made a drawing of what you want in 3D, like I want Trump to paint me in 3D what the great America looks like. Show me this guy is living there and there's this much money. Show me exactly what it looks like without words. Like literally just take me on a visual journey, on like a movie, through the whole thing. Show me the quality, show me the greatness, show me the forest that is regenerated, or the great stock market, or the huge factories with many jobs, the streets empty of homeless, unemployed people, unemployment offices being almost empty because there's nobody going there. Show me videos of happy people working at companies getting good salaries that says on the check, you know, like good, full bank accounts. Show me numbers on a screen that says like poverty is down, or people have better access to food. Take me inside people's houses. Show me what they're eating. Show me the farms. What are the people making? Take me inside factories. Do people have broken arms with no help? Take me inside the veterans units. Are they doing well and healthy and being taken care of? Show me inside hospitals. Is there great health care and people are healthy and fine? Show me inside the banks. Are things going up and there's good interest and people have a good relationship? Or are people look angry? Do people look tired? Do people look unhealthy and sad and miserable and struggling? What does it look like in real life? Don't talk to me about I'm gonna make this some word salad, because words, like I said, you can't grasp them. I can't know what you mean by you come and you say Hitler says I want to make the world great. You know, that's one thing. And Jesus comes and he says I want to make the world great. That's something else. And so it's like don't tell me just words. Paint it. We need to communicate in a way that is more concrete, more visual, more direct, in order to be able to actually do something about the things that we want to do and agree on something specific that we can all like figure it out. Like we paint it and then we're all like, okay, dude, this looks great. And then everyone can do exactly that. It becomes easy when you know exactly what it looks like. When you just say it, nobody knows what's happening. It is literally impossible to make it. When you say I want to make freedom, but it's just an idea and you don't know exactly what it looks like, you haven't even decided, it's just not happening. When you want to make America great again, but you don't know what it is, or when you want to start the war on drugs and you don't know what it is specifically, you don't paint it, you paint, you know, like the picture of what the war on drugs looks like. Fields of burnt poppies, or I don't know what you would paint. You know, you'd have to paint something that explains to me, okay, this is what we're going for. This is my vision that I have. This is what I want. Equality. What does equality look like? Does it look like movies with equal actors from everything? Every movie has one Asian, one black person, every color, like every movie is just a rainbow of genders and backgrounds and interests and religious stuff? Or does it mean that people have similar money? Or does it mean that re-oppress the oppressors? More oppression? It's like back, you know, we flip it? Or what does it look like? Paint it. Don't speak. I don't want words. Words are not going to do what we want. They don't do the job of communicating about these deep things these abstract psychological concepts about politics and patterns, our patterns. It cannot happen through just words. It doesn't mean that we don't use words at all. It means that the solution to this is not that clear. But the first step has to be realizing that words aren't completely real, in the sense that, like, you pick up a rock and you throw it on someone's head. It's not that solid. So to realize that is very important, and that awareness, when we start to realize, okay, words are kind of an issue, or they're not very clear, then we can start to communicate a little bit more gently and less aggressively, because we try to force words at each other, like, this is what it should be, and this is great, oh my god, and it's like just some word salad and people yelling. Slow that down, just paint or visualize what is it that you want it to look like exactly, and then communicate that specifically. Like, communicate like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Use words in a specific sense, like, okay, what I mean is, we're going to take the American, instead of what you could say, we're going to take the current economy and status of people and unemployment, and we're going to take it up here specifically, very, 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 very specific, and make that the core. Don't make that like a secondary thing to the concept. Make America great again. The drug war is the banner, is the label, is the fundamental we use, and then off of that, then we figure out what we're gonna do. No. It's cool that you feel like you want to make America great again, but first paint me exactly what that means. The priority has to be on the clarity of what the communication is about. The priority has to be the image, the exact specific thing that we're trying to go for. That's what has to be the priority, in order for us to be able to communicate in an effective way that allows us to get somewhere in our communication with each other. Because in the end, nobody wants to be sad, messed up, hurt, and alone, and completely forgotten. Okay? Everyone in the world wants to have some degree of comfort, some degree of opportunity, some level of freedom. They want to feel good. They want some new, like open things. Like, everyone wants those things, but we're trying to figure out how to do them together. How do we not just have one group of people or one person somewhere feel good and be comfortable and be fine, while everybody else is struggling and not feeling fine? And how do we create that? What's the best way to do that? That's what we're trying to do, right? But fundamentally, that's what we all want. We want to feel better, want to feel nice, and be able to do what we want. Something like that. Words are not that clear. So try to see what I'm painting. Try to see the intended images and meaning behind what I'm saying. I'm trying to communicate as well as I can, but I also don't want this video to be, a million years long. I don't quite feel like I'm that interesting to just keep talking forever about the same thing, especially without that much structure to it. So yeah, words are a major problem when we don't realize that they are not concrete. When we realize that they are vague, we can do something about it and communicate better. But the actual solution to this is something a lot deeper, and we have to go into that in a different discussion, but together, all of us, and how we want to communicate and what it means to really get it across. But it definitely has to start with this awareness that words are kind of they're a little bit in the air. Not completely, right? Like freedom, it's clear what freedom means. If somebody has a rock on top of them and they're handcuffed to the ground, they're not very free. But when it comes to this stuff, we just have to realize a little bit more, what that it's a little bit vague. Freedom is maybe a little bit in the middle, in comparison to war on drugs or make America great again or equality or Christianity even. These words that are very conceptual, democracy or communism or socialism or capitalism, what these actually mean and what they are. I feel like I started the video intending to speak slowly and go at this kind of slowly, but I feel like it was not very slow. I'll have to definitely work on that a little bit and get to a place where I feel like it's more at a comfortable pace for me, for us, instead of this tense and a little bit rushed pace that I feel like I get into, and we all get into when we get really engaged with these things, because they're our life, they're everything, freedom and America and greatness and drugs and war, and it's like this stuff is like the center of our lives in a lot of ways. So opportunity, equality, racism, discrimination, all this stuff, and it doesn't help to be up here when we want to talk about equality or feminism or anything like that. It's so much easier to talk when we're right here, and even when it's talking about death or pain or suffering or war or killing or what has happened to us, it's just so nice to stay right here, down, more monotone, lower voice, slower pace, eye contact gently. It helps people communicate, because when we're too up here, it shuts the people down, chemically. There are studies showing when people are scared, they don't do tests as well, or they don't perform as well. So we cannot, if we want to make progress and go somewhere, we cannot make it worse by scaring everyone, being super angry, to the extent we can, right? I mean, this stuff, like I said, is our lives, so it's like I didn't do that well. This video feels like I'm going fast, but it's just important to be aware of that as we communicate. Try to keep it nice. Try to be direct and gentle and to the point, fast. There might be exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, something like that. If we're always just up here, it's gonna be very hard to get anywhere. We're just gonna be yelling at each other. Yeah. So it's gonna take some few moments to recenter and rehydrate. Thank my body for being in a nice place, my mind for allowing this to come through. It's kind of hard making videos sometimes. Just breathe. Breathing higher in my chest. It's nice to bring it down. Just kind of remember that the point of us communicating about all this stuff in the first place is because we love life, and we like being here, and we just want to feel better. We just want it to be better. You know, that's the whole point we communicate. So let's just remember that we're trying to make things better. We want things to be better because we like them, and we're enjoying them. Otherwise, we would just kill ourselves and die. Because then there's nothing else to do for life if everything is just bad. We like life enough to want to make it better for ourselves and live better. It's nice to live nice, you know, get good food and have good company and have nice experiences and stuff. And so when we communicate about these ideas, it's nice to just remind that and remember the love as the root of all of it. And yeah, just be a little bit patient. We're progressing now and discussing things now, and there's so much more happening now than ever before. Maybe it's not in a good direction, but that's up to us, you know. We're alive, and we're the ones doing it. So our awareness is where this whole thing happens, you know. If we're scared and closed-minded and stubborn and yelling, it's gonna be one kind of world. And if we're aware and patient and gentle, even with the really bad and really painful and really bloody and extreme things, like Martin Luther talks about, or some of the people that have really opened people's hearts in our world, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, you know, Gandhi. These people, even they might not be like everything we ever needed, and in every way the best way that they possibly could exist, but these people, they opened people's hearts, and we need more of that. We need more gentle, slow, peaceful, figure it out, you know. Just slow it down a little bit. We're a little bit too rushed, and part of the problem is we make profit from this chaos, you know, media and everything. So just remember that, and things are gonna be fine if we want them to be fine, because we're the ones doing it. We're alive. It's our choice. We're free. And just remember that words are not that thing. And just be here. Be with reality. Be with the here and now, as Ram Dass would say. Because the here and now is the direct experience that we all fundamentally share, and not just words.